take a look at what our agenda is. The first thing we're going to cover is what exactly is security by design, and where does it fit within your current curriculum? I should be able to answer that question pretty quickly. If you work for a training center or you're a sales rep for a training center and you're wondering, what is security by design? How can I talk about it to my customers? Who needs it? We're going to cover that. If you are a trainer and you are interested in learning about what is security by design and how can you help teach people it, we're going to cover that as well. We're going to talk about the OWASP top 10. What is that? And why is that such an important thing to talk to application developers about? And then we're going to talk a little bit about Cyber Secure Coder, otherwise known as CSC, and why I think it's the next big thing when we come to coding education because of everything we've talked about beforehand. So let's get started. I am going to go through this. At the end, I will field questions. If you have any questions, you can put them into the chat, and I will take a look at that at the end. So security by design, pretty simple thing. It is the process of designing software applications from the foundation to be secure. Now you're thinking to yourself, well, aren't all applications inherently secure? And the answer is they generally get there towards the end of their development life cycle. Meaning that from the moment a person comes up with an idea about an application or code or something like that, to the end point where the application is launched and put out into the market, there's usually security built in there. Now, the question is does it happen from the beginning and inception of the idea, or does it happen later after problems have been found, after you've had to throw it back over the wall 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, and we'll talk about that. And typically where these security by design lives is what's called the software development lifecycle. We'll talk about that in a second. Now, what you see on your screen is overwhelming. It is 32 different security and privacy by design principles, and it is from the Secure Controls Framework. And they are a nonprofit society built up of individuals who do auditing, who do privacy control, who work for GDPR and are DPOs, who have created a framework on what you need to do as an organization to say that you have security and privacy by design. I in no way, shape, or form want you to read this because we're going to come back to it in a minute here. I want you to understand that there are whole organizations out there that are designing exactly what we're talking about, ways in which organizations need to have security by design when they're coming up with their applications, when they're working with their cloud vendors, when they're developing internal and external code. All of these things are weighing on organizations right now, and they struggle with them. As you can see, there are 32 here, and we'll highlight a few of them in a minute, but this is a huge, huge issue for all major organizations right now. So we know that there's 32 things at least that need to be considered. And this is typically what happens when an organization decides they want to do something, whether they want to create a new project, a new application, a new piece of code, etc. This is called the software development lifecycle. You may have seen this before if you're familiar with project management. It's what's also referred to as a waterfall methodology, but this is a simple way in which a software developer can go through and understand exactly what they need to do to take an idea and take it all the way through to completion. As you can see, there's a planning phase where they're going to go through what the budget is, what they need to create, how does it need to work. There's a design phase where they have to absolutely go through and figure out what's it going to look like, how can it work best with any other infrastructure. There's a build phase where they actually build the code. There's a test phase, which is often what we call thrown over the wall to a QA department. And provided that test comes back good, then they go ahead and deploy the software and they maintain it. And this is something that most organizations have been doing for years. So let me give you an idea of how that works in actual practice. I'm a software developer. John O'Keefe's software development firm, and I pick up a major client in the area, which is a grocery store. Got a really great grocery store in this area called Wegmans. They're not national, but they're nationally known. They're an awesome company to work for, and they do some really cool and innovative stuff. So Wegmans comes to me and says, "Hey, John, I need you to help us increase the ticket value per customer. We're doing really well in all of our marks, but we'd like to see everyone check out with a few more things or a few less things that are of higher value. How can you help us do that?" So I'm an app developer. I come up with some ideas, and what I want to do is develop a mobile app. And that mobile app is going to do a couple of things. It's going to make suggestions based on their previous purchases. So anytime they go through and use the app to scan at checkout, I'm going to know what they bought. I'm going to store that somewhere, and I'm going to feed it back to them to make suggestions. I'm going to use that app to help speed up checkout. So as you're going, you can scan your groceries, because if I can speed up your checkout, you might buy more things. Subconsciously, you're going to think, well, checkout's faster. I don't care how big my cart is. I can get out of here really quickly. And I'm going to help you find all those items you're looking for by using geolocation in the stores. So all things I can do in an app. It's possible. Let's get at it and design it. So I wrangle my development team, and I get it together and I say, let's design this. And we start fast and furious. We start writing code. We start working with graphic designers, UX people, and we start trying to put this together. So we build it as fast as we can, because the only way I get paid is by shipping an application. So I build it as fast as I can. Then what I do is I kick it over to Wegmans, to their QA department. And the QA department's entire job is to come back and find as many bugs as possible. Okay, great. I'm excited about that because I've done such a good job programming this. I know that it can go to your geolocation on your phone and make a call out with an API so it knows exactly where you are. I know that it can integrate with Wegmans store side servers so that way it can tell me exactly where each product is in each aisle. I know that it can feed into their database of what's on sale on their shoppers club so that way I can make really good suggestions to move product out of the store. And I know that I've got a QR feature where I can scan products, create a cart, and have that interface with their checkout system while keeping tabs on inventory. I know I can do all that. Great. Well, it gets tested, and it turns out that what I didn't really think of is all the different ways in which these things need to work together securely. Because what I'm concerned about is getting something out the door that looks nice, that works. So QA kicks it back over the wall to me, and I get upset because I say, this is ridiculous. I know it works. Your environment isn't real. You're testing it in a way that doesn't make sense, but I have to start over. So my time cycle goes back to 0, and I rinse and repeat. And we keep throwing it back over the wall to each other until finally, after months and months and months, we get something that looks stable. At which point it goes out into the market, and then any security flaws beyond that become a news article. And we've seen that happen a million times with applications that have been developed. So about 15 years ago, organizations started to look at there has to be a better way to do this. And that's by using security by design principles. So what you have on the screen in front of you are your DevOps on the right and your Agile framework on your left, but they're similar in ways in which they do things. So organizations now are trying to say, if we start at the beginning, thinking about all the things that could possibly go wrong and everything that we need in an end process, and we have the QA team and the engineering team and the software development teams work in tandem instead of throwing it over the wall at each other back and forth, like a game of volleyball. That's what DevOps really plans to do. So the goal of DevOps is to improve deployment frequency, faster time to market, lower failure rate of new releases, shorten lead time, and all of that. And according to a 2015 State of DevOps report, high-performing IT organizations deploy 30 times more frequently with 200 times shorter lead times and have 60% fewer failures and recover 168 times faster. So there's a lot of math on why DevOps is so important. Well, in order to work inside that framework, someone needs to be trained not just on DevOps, but on things that are important inside of DevOps and things that are important for me as a coder or developer to think about that previously I hadn't really put my mind to. Now, when I was designing that app for Wegmans, I was concerned about making it look nice. I was concerned about the feature performance. I wanted to make sure it could do everything they asked for. It was user-friendly. Everyone who got their hands on the app would love it, and it would increase customer retention. That's what I was really concerned about, because that's what I, as a programmer, know how to do. I have a UX team, I can make that happen. What I wasn't concerned about necessarily were the security risks, because I don't know if that really lives with me, and I'm not really trained to address security. That's more QA's job. Well, what that leads to is the perpetual game of software development volleyball. And when you have things like the OWASP Top 10, which is the Open Web Application Security Project, they provide lists of all of these security flaws that everyone needs to worry about inside an organization. And most organizations, cybersecurity teams, their engineering teams, they're all over this because this is the stuff that leads to getting hacked. If you're not prepared for the OWASP Top 10, you're in trouble. But what most organizations, and I've bolded it here for you, they don't really put a focus on is that web application developers and DevOps teams desperately need to know this stuff too. Because if they're not prepared to address security concerns from day one, it's going to be day 60 before you get to thinking about security in an application. And as a developer, I know that if I have to put something in at day 60 on top that really should be on the bottom, proverbial, I have to rip my whole app apart to make that work. And that is the least efficient way possible. Now, remember, I get paid when that app ships. So all this time, I'm tearing my app apart, redoing work, trying to figure out how to make Wegmans happy because I wasn't security focused from the get-go. And the OWASP Top 10 are all these crazy things, and they're on your screen in front of you. I don't necessarily expect you to know what some of these things are, but these are the top 10 things that developers, that security personnel all need to be worried about. Things like injection, which comes with SQL, NoSQL, LDAP injections, all database stuff that's on the back end of apps. Broken authentication, when you go out and I make an API call to something and I don't need to authenticate it, but I really should, other apps can piggyback in on that. Cross-site scripting, and XML entries, older poorly configured XML, old XSS flaws, they occur all over the place. There are many, many things in the OWASP Top 10 here that you can see that developers should be really concerned about, because this is the stuff that causes the problems at the end. And if you don't think about it from day one, if you don't have security by design in your application development, you are setting yourself up for potential issues and long delays. And the whole goal of DevOps and Agile is to make that a thing of the past. So from day one, we not only tackle the design, we not only tackle the code, but we tackle the security. Now that I've said that to you, you're probably all thinking, well, John, that really makes a lot of sense. I don't understand why this is such a big deal. And that, of course, is DevOps' argument as well, that this just makes sense. This is how we should do things. But of course, artificial barriers and training is a large component of that. To find a coder who not only is great at what they do as far as writing code, but understands the OWASP Top 10 or how to develop apps securely is very, very difficult, because coders spend the majority of their time learning how to make the applications that you're asking them to. They have never been previously concerned with security. And with so many applications in use, on average, companies use 765 different web applications to run their business. You can see even at the lowest point, the average there with energy and utilities is 485, and this is from InfoSec Institute. So businesses, of course, are using applications constantly. And they need They need these things because 30 to 45% of them are critical for their business use. Whether you're talking about your business being able to access your customer database or access your ERP system, or you're talking about nice to haves like my grocery store app idea, which by the way is a real thing. Wegmans actually has an app that does all of that. These are things that are mission critical for business. And if you remember that list of 32 things I showed you, I pulled just a handful for us to look at a little closer, so that way you could see how all of these things apply to application development. Whether we're talking about web security, privacy, cryptographic protections and cloud security, network security, these are all things that are part of apps. How often do we download a new app on our phone? Someone suggests something. Oh, you need Facebook, you need TikTok, you need Reddit, etc. Then what do? Well, it asks us to create an account. Okay, I create an account. If I'm smart, I use a password that I've never used on an application before, but let's be very real. Most of us use the same like 3 or 4 passwords over and over again. I put in my personal information because sure, it's asking for it. Why not? Every app asks for that. And I never think about it again. I don't know that if TikTok is using geolocation to track me where I am and feed me content, while also using that to serve ads to me, while also sending that information out over either a secure or unsecure data in transit plan. I don't know that. I just use it on my phone. I click and it makes me happy. It gives me a little endorphin rush. So that's what most of us do with our apps, and we never think about these types of things. And I'll tell you the secret is a lot of developers don't either, because what they're concerned about is user interface. They want it to look nice. They want it to be easy to use. How many of you have, and just think about this, how many of you have been shopping online and you stopped because the web store experience was just terrible? And you think, oh man, can I get this on Amazon? I wish I could just get this on Amazon. All of us have been on a web store that's just difficult to search or doesn't really display the products the way we want it to. We can't find reviews. And then we end up going to a website that feels like it was designed by a professional. It services our needs. That's what most coders are working on. What they're not concerned about necessarily is the security component of it. So I'm telling you some doom and gloom, but just the reality of the situation is that coders don't have a lot of experience in dealing with security by design. They're primarily focused on giving you a great experience in an application or a website. However, now it's starting to be recognized that they need to learn this stuff, which is where Cyber Secure Coder, which is a course offered from CertNexus, comes into play. So this is the part of the presentation where as a salesperson or as an instructor or as a training center owner, where you can start to see how we can challenge your customers on exactly this. So what challenges does CSC solve? Number one, I've already showed you that most businesses have tons of applications they're using, but there are 111 billion lines of new software code produced each year. And on top of that, 60 to 70% of code is reused from online open source repositories. So we're writing tons of new code and we're reusing all sorts of old code. And if you follow any developers, the first thing they're going to tell you is they go to GitHub or they go to some other open repository, they grab code, they throw it in. And when their boss is like, this works really great, they're always like, yeah, I totally wrote it. That's like a programmer in joke. And it's totally true, but it also opens organizations up to huge security risks. Open source software is not vetted by anyone other than the people that write it themselves. And 48% of developers lack the time they really need to spend on security. Developers do recognize that this is important, but when I'm developing my Wegmans app and I need to do all these things, the first thing I'm trying to do is make it work. I'm not necessarily concerned about security. which is a shame because there are so many records being breached in and around the world due to poor app security. Every time we hear about a breach or an app that's not working correctly, we take note mentally of that company, and sometimes that changes our patterns. But when Facebook got not only have they been the victim of hacking attacks, but when they misused our data, they lost millions and millions of members and lost billions of dollars in evaluation because they weren't thinking about security and privacy by design. So as an organization, Cyber Secure Coder can really be that home run hit for you because if you've got anyone who's ever taken a coding course, if you're on here and you're thinking, I've got a ton of customers who excuse me, who have taken coding. If you have anyone who's ever done any Agile or DevOps, and you have any organization that has any sort of internal application development team, Cyber Secure Coder can be a game changer for them because they need exactly what's in this course. Software projects. You're going to look through how to eliminate vulnerabilities with software. Use that security by design approach that's so popular in DevOps and Agile frameworks. Apply various testing methods to find correct and security defects in your software. And maintain deployed software to ensure ongoing security. It's not a learn to code class. It's also not a cybersecurity class. What it teaches you is security by design. So going back, I want to land this message again. Anyone who's taking a coding course from you likely needs to learn these skills. Any organization that you work with that's in Agile or DevOps, and that's what they're really about, needs this course from you. And any organization that you talk to that develops apps or writes code needs this course from you. They all need to be prepared to be cyber secure when it comes to their coding. Now, here's some of the raw information about the class. It's a 3-day class. It utilizes Python and Java as the language frameworks, although it will explain to you how to code in any object-oriented language and best security practices. It is a high-stakes certification offered through Pearson VUE. And you can take it as an instructor-led experience or an e-learning experience. CertNexus suggests an MSRP of $14.95. So if you're a training center and you're on here, it's a 3-day class valued at about $1,500. And what it does is it maps to the cybersecurity workforce framework. Now, if you are a trainer, today is your lucky day. We are offering free access to the following. We are offering you a free access to a Cyber Secure Coder e-learning. We're also offering a digital instructor train the trainer bundle with digital instructor guides and videos around CSC. We're offering a 50% discount for trainers off of the virtual lab and the exam voucher. So you can get set up cheaply and easily to offer this course to your students. If you're a training center, take one of your coding instructors, get them this information, and get Cyber Secure Coder on your schedule. Your ideal candidate has experience teaching programming languages like Python, Java, C#, .NET, etc. Again, it's not a learn to code class. The most important part of this is that you want to take already established coders, bring them in so they can learn security by design principles to put into their code. So again, to remind you, these are the people who need Cyber Secure Coder. If they've taken a coding course or expressed interest in a coding course, they should know about this class. If their organization does Agile or DevOps, they should know about this class, and so should their managers. And any organization that has an app development team, like Wegmans here in Rochester, New York, would be an excellent candidate to get their coders up to speed on this. Because every coder will tell you that this is the most neglected area of their entire portfolio is security, and it's usually just someone else's problem. But that doesn't work in DevOps and Agile environments because everyone owns it from the beginning all the way through to the end. Now, with that, I'm going to open it up to any questions. I want to be mindful of your time. It's 2:27, so I left 3 minutes for questions. Please feel free to go ahead in the chat and ask any questions that you might have, and I will do my best to answer them in the 3 minutes that we have here. Today's session was also recorded. It will be posted to our YouTube channel and sent out. And if you are a trainer who says, gosh, John, I really am into this cybersecure coder thing. I want to become a certified cybersecure coder instructor. Email me at JediJon@Logical and I will get you on the road to getting those materials so you can get set up to teach this. If you're a training center and you're saying, I would really love to put this on my schedule, email me at JediJon@LogicalOperations.com, and I will gladly give you some marketing materials, and we'll talk about a special promotion that we're running so we can help you get it up on your schedule and get you running a cybersecure coder classes as soon as possible. Anybody have any questions? I have one. Okay, it looks like Ed. Yes, looks like Ed has a question. Does the class address boundaries between system security? Well, yes, it does. So that is a great question. Let me read his question out for you guys. Just want to make my little window here. Does the class address boundaries between system security? Example, what a Linux admin might do and what a secure coder could do. Absolutely. So the course is obviously primarily placed on the square shoulders of the coders, but it does explain what they need to be responsible for when it comes to security by design application development and what other folks inside the organization should be thinking about when it comes to security by design. Any other questions? Great. Well, we are at 2:29, so we came in just a minute under. I really like to be respectful of people's times. Oh, we got another question. I'm a trainer and would like to have more info. I would absolutely love to give you more info. I believe that's Michael, but I could be pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize if I am. Please feel free to email me at JediJon@LogicalOperations.com, and I will gladly provide you with more information on this. If anyone has other questions, I will be on the line for another minute here. And I hope to see some emails from you guys. We have everything that you could possibly need to get this up and running on your schedule, or everything that you would need to start training this and become a cybersecure coder yourself. Great. I really appreciate everyone's time today. It's hot in here. I'm sorry. Normally I have a big fan going, and the little bit of AC that we do have in the house, which is rooms away, keep the door open. Can't do that right now. So I'm a little hot and sweaty. I hope everyone here is enjoying whatever beautiful weather you're having. Hope everyone here is staying safe. I greatly appreciate your time, and I look forward to connecting with all of you. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording and end the session, and I look forward to communicating with you all very soon. Take care.